Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Today's lesson will be a continuation of the series of lessons that we have been doing. List them mine enemies, the enemy without. Once again, this is part 5 of List them mine enemies, the enemies without. Now, we stopped off, we had a very brief cutoff at Zechariah chapter 2. So we will begin this at Zechariah chapter 2. Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws, do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We are to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. All right, let's get started. Zechariah chapter 2. I'm going to try to get all of this done in one segment. We're going to cover 10 scrolls. We're not going to give you a piece of the scroll. We're going to read the entire scroll. So there's 10 scrolls that we're going to go through. So get ready to do some reading. That way we can go into the text. We can go into the scrolls. We can go into the documentation via these prophets, via the Most High. And we are going to see if these people that are sitting in this land are indeed the people of the Most High. And the prophets, the words of the prophets and the words of the Most High testify against them. So let's verify these things. Excuse me. Once again, we're starting at Zechariah chapter 2. All right. Zechariah chapter 2, verse 1 reads, I lift up mine eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line is in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. Verse 3, And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. All right, let's stop right there. We're stopping there at verse 4 before we continue. So we're seeing in this vision, in this prophecy that's being given to Zechariah, that Jerusalem will not be any walls in this town. And the children of Israel being returned back onto that land, there will be a multitude of people and a multitude of men, because the Most High said he would bless us double. And we will multiply and be much more in number than our forefathers. So will our cattle and everything else. So there will be no walls in Jerusalem. Okay, so here's what you have to do at this point. If you have your notepad out, go to Google and Google separation wall surrounding Jerusalem, or wall, protection wall in Jerusalem, or separation wall in Israel. So the fact that they have walls, separation walls, protection walls in Jerusalem, and trying to build it around Jerusalem, that is the Most High's words testifying against them, that they are not, these Israelis sitting in this land are not the house of Jacob. They're not the children of Israel by no means. This word, this book of remembrance, the Most High and his prophets testify against these people. Now, verse 5, For I, saith Yah, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. So, the Most High would be our protection and will be our protection when we return back onto this land. He will be a fire round about us. He will be our protection. There will be no need for a separation wall. And he will be in the midst of us. So this old dying and going to heaven nonsense is a myth. We will be placed back in Jerusalem, in the land of our forefathers, that the Most High had promised unto us, and he will be in the midst of us. via that third temple that these Israelis could never build. Let me take a sip. All right. Verse 6. Ho, 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 come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith Yah, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith Yah. So, has the Jews been spread abroad as the four winds of the heavens? No, they have not. The Jews that were in Germany were born there, were raised there, have German names, lived in Germany. They are Europeans like the rest of those Europeans. That's it. They were not spread. You can't find no history books where anyone took Jews all throughout the earth, renamed them, put them in slavery, and they are at the bottom of the barrel of all the nations. No such thing exists. No such record exists of any Israeli or any quote unquote what they call themselves Jews. There's no such record anywhere to be found. Verse 7. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. Now, this daughter of Babylon, the system of Babylon is throughout all the earth. That is why we cannot escape it. We can go from one nation to the next, and the same rule of law, the same Babylonian system exists there. So we cannot profit by escaping from one nation to the next, because we cannot outrun these curses. When we leave one nation, go to the next nation, the same Babylonian system is in full effect. It states here, deliver thyself, O Zion. This is the Most High speaking. So therefore, we are to deliver ourselves simply by returning back onto this law. Some man dipping you in water, doing some baptism, which no prophet and no priest, no son of Aaron has ever baptized an Israelite ever. And I mean ever with a capital E and never with a capital N. It has never happened. You will never read that. We deliver ourselves by returning back to the instructions that we were given at the first, and there is no other way. Verse 8. For thus saith Yah of hosts, after the glory has he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. Okay. Verse 8, for thus saith Yah of hosts, after the glory has he sent me unto the nations which spoileth you. So, Zechariah is being sent unto the nations that spoiled the children of Israel. How so? All the children of Israel right now today, we are all in possession of this book of remembrance. The words of Zechariah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and the rest of these priests and prophets, it's in our possession. It is nigh unto us. It is at hand for us to grab a hold of it and to read it. That is why no new prophet was necessary, because the Most High made it possible that when he dispersed us to the four winds of the earth, regardless of the language that we would be speaking, regardless of the nation that we would be in, these words would be accessible to us throughout the generations. So there was absolutely no need for him to send any new prophets. The information is the same. The Most High changes not. Malachi 3 verse 6. And so therefore we know good and well that if the information does not change, there's absolutely no need for new prophets, especially when the Most High has ensured that the prophets from the days of old is in our possession right now. So these words are just as valid today as they were back then. So Zechariah has been sent to these nations. So has Isaiah. So has Daniel. So is Ezekiel. So is Moshe. Because we have them right now in our possession in all of these nations. And that's why these scrolls were printed up and preserved for us to be able to take a hold of when we were brought to remembrance. So we have all the words of the prophets right here before us today, unchanged. All right, verse 9. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants, and ye shall know that YHWH hath sent me. Verse 10. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come, and I dwell in the midst of thee, saith Yah. So the Most High is going to dwell in the midst of his people in Zion. We just read that. This is the Most High speaking. So you dying, putting on some wings, going up into heaven, hanging out with JC. This is a Roman myth. Verse 11. And many nations shall be joined to Yah in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that Yah of hosts hath sent me unto thee. And Yah shall inherit Judah his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again, because that is a place that he chose to lay his name. That is why in the lands of our captivity, we are to face Jerusalem. We are to face that place that he laid his name when we make our supplication, when we pray. Okay, so the Most High said he will choose Jerusalem again. Verse 13, be silent, O all flesh, before Yah, for he is raised up out of his holy habitation. So when the Most High begins to rise up out of his holy habitation, all that means is that his spirit is going to be placed upon his people, and many of the people of the nations who are of a contrite spirit. And what you will see is the uprising of holiness, of righteousness, of truth, of justice, of equity within the earth. And you're seeing the uprising for all of these things currently. For they are seeking the Most High, for the Most High is pouring out his spirit upon all flesh. All right. So that is Zechariah chapter 3, making it plain, testifying against these Israelis. They're saying that they're the people of the Most High, and they have been brought back to Jerusalem from all these other nations. So they're trying to fulfill these prophecies and trying to fool the people of the earth. However, the prophecy of Zechariah and the words of the Most High testify against them, because they are building walls surrounding Jerusalem right now. And they have walls up right now. And the Most High said there will be no walls, that he will be the protection fire around about us. And we will not be in fear. And there will be no need for separation walls and all of this other madness that they have in that land. This is a testimony of the Most High by way of his prophet Zechariah that literally shows us clearly that these are not the people. These are not his people. All right. Now, let's go ahead and we just finished Zechariah chapter 2. Let's move to Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah chapter 8. And we're reading the whole scroll once again. That way we can make it plain to the children of Israel and those of the nations who may be confused and actually believe that these people are the people, these Jews, these Israelis are the people of God. We'll go in here and hear what God has to say by way of his prophets. All right. Zechariah chapter 8 and verse 1 reads, again, the word of Yah of hosts came to me, saying, thus saith Yah of hosts, I was jealous for Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Thus saith Yah, I am returned unto Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and the mountain of Yah of hosts, the holy mountain. All right. So this is once the Most High returned with his people unto Jerusalem. He is stating that he will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. That's because there's going to be a temple there, that third temple that these Israelis cannot build. Okay. And the city is going to be called a city of truth. You can go to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and all of that. Truth means righteousness. That means There's no homosexuality, there's no lies, there's no taking of bribes, there's no whoredoms, there's none of these things. We can attest to the fact that all of these things are in Jerusalem today. So therefore, the people that's sitting in that land are not the people of the Most High, because when they returned there, the Most High would have returned with them, and he would be dwelling in the midst of them, and the entire city would be holy, and there would be no such thing as the wickedness that we're seeing there today. Once again, the Most High and his prophets are testifying against these people. Verse 4, thus saith Yah of hosts, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for very age. So we're going to be able to live a long life, be in the streets of Jerusalem with our canes, because we're going to be old. We're going to see the extension of our days. We're going to see the length of our days, because those of us who are going to be returned there are going to be holy, which means that the Most High is going to extend his ever-loving kindness and tender mercies towards us, so we will be living much longer. Verse 5, and the streets of Jerusalem shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. That is a return of joy unto our people. Okay, verse 6, thus saith Yah of hosts, if it be marvelous in my eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it also be marvelous in mine eyes, saith Yah of hosts? So, Most High is saying here, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it also be marvelous in mine eyes, saith Yah of hosts. That's verse 6. So we are going to be marveled of the fact that we will be taken out of these nations and placed back into the land that was promised unto our forefathers. So we're going to be joyful for that. We're going to be very glad about that situation. Okay, and it's going to be a marvelous thing in our eyes to see it, to bear witness to it, and to be a part of it. And the Most High is saying, well, it's going to be a marvelous thing in your eyes, but it's also going to be a marvelous thing in his eyes, is what he's saying. Okay, verse 7, thus saith Yah of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country. Remember, we were scattered all throughout the earth. Okay, Most High is not saying here, I'm going to gather my people from Europe. Okay, these Israelis, the only place that they were actually afflicted was by some Germans, some other Europeans. Verse 8, and I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their strength, or their God, in truth and in righteousness. So the Most High says he's going to gather his people. He's going to return us back to Jerusalem, and he's going to be our strength. He's going to be our strength in truth and in righteousness. Keep in mind, two cannot walk together lest they be agreed. So therefore, for the Most High to be in the midst of us, you better believe every last one of us is holy, because he is holy. He is not dwelling with anyone that is unholy. That is why in the days of old, when anyone did anything crazy while we were in the wilderness and he was in the midst of us, they were killed immediately, because they were not allowed to dwell with him. So you either going to walk the line or you are going to be a dead man. But no evil can dwell with the Most High. So when you start talking to Satan going up and down between the earth and going up before the Most High and all this other madness, you have to take in mind the context of what you're reading and understand what it is you're reading. So the Most High is saying that he's going to be our strength in truth and in righteousness. Therefore, when he's back in that land in Jerusalem, there's no way in the world there's no gay parades and weapons of war and killing and lying and taking of bribes and whoredoms and homosexuality and all the other madness that we're seeing in these lands right now. Verse 9, thus saith Yah of hosts, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of Yah's house was laid. So that the temple might be built. Okay, so therefore, verse 9 is pretty much letting us know that we are to strengthen ourselves in the laws of the Most High when we hear these words by the mouth of the prophets in the day when the foundation was laid, that this third temple might be established, that we are going to have to build in Jerusalem, that these Israelis have been sitting in this land for over 70 years as a sovereign nation, so to speak, and they have been unable to lay one brick to build that third temple. It cannot be done by them. Not going to happen. Okay. Verse 10. For before these days there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went in, that went out or came in, because of the affliction. For I set all men, every one, against his neighbor. That is verse 10. So the Most High is saying in those lands there were no peace. He set every man against his neighbor. So there was no peace to the man that went in and the man that came out. There's still no peace there today to the one that goes in and comes out. And there will be no restoration of peace until the house of Israel in this diaspora returns back onto the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Then we will be taken back to that land. And once we get to that land, we will know peace, because the Most High will be in the midst of us, and we will be walking lockstep in his law, and there will be no violations. It's really that simple. All right. Verse 11. But now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, saith Yah of hosts. Verse 12. For the seed shall be prosperous, the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give their due. And I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. So he's saying here in verse 11, I'm not going to do you like I did your fathers. I starved them. I withheld the rains. I caused the ground to withhold the bounty of the crops. I caused famine and dearth in the land. I killed off your forefathers. But to the remnant of you, I will not do you in that manner. I will cause the fruit to come forth. I will cause the increase of the fields to come forth. I will cause the dew and the rains to come forth. In other words, I'm going to bless you more than I have blessed your forefathers. Verse 13. And you know it's not these Israelis. Why? Because they have to have desalination plants to get water. They're trying to do all manner of scientific tricks to try to cause the land to grow food. Once again, the Most High's words speaking against them, testifying against them. Verse 13, and it shall come to pass that as ye were a curse among the heathen, O house of Judah, and O house of Israel, so will I save you. For you to be saved, you have to be in trouble. And ye shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong. So the Most High is saying that we were a curse in the midst of these nations, but he's saying that he will save us, and we shall be a blessing, and our hands are to be made strong. How so? We are to take a hold of that law. You grab a hold of that law, your hands will be made strong, so will your spirit. Verse 14, for thus saith Yah of hosts, as I thought to punish you when your fathers provoked me to wrath, saith Yah of hosts, and I repented not. Meaning, I busted you upside your head, kicked you out of my land for transgressing my law. That's what your fathers did. And that's why I put you away. That's why we're out here in these nations roughing it. Verse 15. So again have I thought in these days to do well unto Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not. So the Most High said, just like I made it to where I punished you, he said, I will also do well unto you. I will also bless you in these latter days. Verse 16. These are the things that ye shall do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. All right, so the Most High want the house of Israel to speak truth to his neighbor. Keep in mind, when we're talking about neighbors, we're talking about other tribes. We're talking about members of the same family. Because as our inheritance was given out, we were living next to each other. This tribe held this land, and neighboring to them was the other tribe, neighboring to them was the other tribe. We were all the same family. So when you hear neighbors, we're not talking about strangers, just so you understand that. So we were to speak truth, which means no lying. We were to execute judgment of truth. That is his law. All right. And by doing that, we would have peace in our gates. There's no peace in the gates of modern day Israel right now. because they're not speaking truth to their neighbor. Number one, they're not walking after the Most High's law, and that's why they have to build these separation walls and make this all these weapons of war, and they're constantly in a state of fear. That was not the prophecy that the Most High stated when he would return the children of Israel back onto the land that he promised unto their forefathers once he gathered us out of these many nations. That was not the prophecy that we would get in the land, we would be in fear, we would be building walls, we would be building weapons of war and selling it to other people. We would have nuclear arsenals sitting in there. We would be going to other nations and begging them for money and begging them for guns. None of these things were prophesied. So what we're reading by reading the words of the Most High by way of his prophets, it is a testimony against these individuals sitting in that land. All right. Verse 17. And let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor, and love no false oath, lies. For all these are things that I hate, saith Yah. Verse 18. And the word of Yah of hosts came unto me, saying, Thus saith Yah of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness, and cheerful feast. Therefore, love, truth, and peace. So all the holy days that we were instructed to keep back in the days of old, I don't want to keep the Day of Atonement. I don't want to do this. I'm not going to keep that. I'm not going to do Passover, etc., etc. It was a burden unto our people. They hated to do it. They did not want to keep the Most High's feast days and his holy days. Let me reiterate, the Most High does not have anything called a holiday. The Most High has holy, Holy, days. Verse 20. Thus saith Yah of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, Let us go speedily to pray before Yah and to seek Yah of hosts. I will go also. So this temple is going to be established. We're back in this land. We are the law is going forth from Zion, and many of the peoples of the earth and of the many nations are going to come up to pay homage to the Most High. They're going to come up to learn his ways, to learn his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And man of Israel, you're going to be the ones teaching it to them. That's why it's important that we learn this law. Verse 22. Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek Yah of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before Yah. So just think, one temple established in one place. That's where the Most High will be. And if we have to make a sacrifice, when we need to make a sacrifice, when we have to appear before him on the holy days, we all have to go to that one place. So can someone explain how all of these churches are the houses of God? It's not. It's never been. Our people just don't understand that they're in error and don't understand what they're doing. They're doing this in error. Okay? Now, verse 23, Thus saith Yah of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take the hold of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is an Israelite, not Jew, Israelite, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that Yah is with you. All right, so as we begin to magnify the Most High's law and make it honorable, and the Most High begin to bring his wrath upon these nations, it's going to be clearly established that we are the people of the Most High, because he is going to raise us up in these nations that we are in. It's going to be made plain that we are the seed which Yah has blessed. So therefore, we are at the bottom of the barrel right now in these many nations where we dwell. He's going to raise us up before we even get back to the land, before he even takes us back to the land of Israel. We're going to be raised up. We're going to be recognized as these are the people of the Most High. And that is how these men and women of these nations are going to grab a hold of that man of Israel who is walking in this law and say, I am with you because the Most High is with you. That is going to take place before we even get back into that land. Now, Has anyone taken a hold of a Jew, grab a hold of a Jew and say, hey, look, teach me Judaism because I heard the Most High is with you? No one's ever done that. It's never happened, and it never will happen. All right, so that concludes Zechariah chapter 8. Now let's go to the book of Zephaniah chapter 3. To the book of Zephaniah chapter 3. All right. The book of Zephaniah, like I said, we will be going through these scrolls. We've got 10 of them that we're going to read in its entirety. All right. We're at Zephaniah chapter 3. Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 1 reads, woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city, that's Jerusalem. She obeyed not the voice. She received not correction. She trusted not in Yah. She drew not near to her strength. That's the Most High. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. They gnaw not the bone till the morrow. In other words, they're nothing but foul men that were in the midst of us in these days in Jerusalem. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. So the priests have gone astray. The prophets, light and treacherous persons, want to teach the Most High's law for profit, for money, using that influence by which to pervert the people, leading them astray. Verse 5. The just strength, or the just strong one, is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doth he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. The homosexuals in the midst of us know no shame. The murderers know no shame. The thieves know no shame. The idolater knows no shame. The adulterer knows no shame. Verse 6. I have cut off the nations. Their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passeth by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabitant. And that's what he's going to do to these nations and their cities. I said, surely thou wilt fear me, thou wilt receive correction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever, I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. So the Most High did say, as he continued to punish us, and the more he punished us, the more we rebelled. And as we continue to rebel, he would punish us 7 times more. So we were just trying to find out and be real resourceful and creative by ways of how to commit some evil acts. So we were just foul all the way. All right. Verse 8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith Yah, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. So the Most High is going to gather these nations, he's going to kill them. That's plain English. Verse 9. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon me, or all call upon my name, or to serve him with one consent. To read that verbatim, it reads this. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Yah, to serve him with one consent. So the people that's going to be left once the Most High pours out his indignation upon these nations, the ones that are going to be left are going to be the ones that are of a contrite spirit. So we're all going to be speaking the same language, and we all will be calling upon the Most High with one name and one consent. The Most High changes not. So if he's going to be called on with one name, he's always had one name. Just so you understand that. There's no changing and switching up here. Okay? Verse 10. For beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. So all these many nations are going to be bringing offerings up to the Most High. So will the children of the Ethiopians. They will do it as well. So will all of the daughter of my dispersed. That's those of Zion, those of the house of Israel that has been scattered. We will be doing the same thing. In that day, shall thou not be ashamed of all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of them the rejoicing in thy pride. I will let me reread that. In that day shall thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. Haughty, arrogant. We shall no longer be that. We should no longer be prideful. Verse 12, I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Yah. That's why you are to feed the poor, take your clothes, give money to them. Stop giving it to these pastors in these houses of idol worship. It is hurting you, doing harm to you. Don't do it. Feed, take care of the poor. Verse 13, the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Okay, let's deal with that. If these people, the remnant of Israel, will be gathered out of the many nations, and the Most High will return us back onto the land of our forefathers. These Jews, these Israelis, are saying that they are those people, and they faked the funk by gathering all these many different peoples, them and these other European nations, and they put these Jews back in this land and saying that these Jews are the people. Okay, let's play with that for a second. The Most High is saying here by way of Zephaniah that the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity. That's sin. So why is Netanyahu being accused of taking bribes? Why are we seeing rape cases in that land? Why are we seeing idolatrous houses in that land? Why are we seeing homosexuals and homosexual parades in that land? Why are we seeing all manner of wickedness contrary to the Most High's law in that land? Why are they telling lies in that land? So therefore, we know it's not them, because the words of the Most High testifies against them. He is stating here clearly once again, verse 13 of Zephaniah chapter 3. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, that's no sin, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. These Israelis are terrified. These Jews are terrified each and every day. The Arabs makes them afraid every day. The Most High is stating that none shall make the house of Israel afraid once he returns them back onto that land. But yet, these Israelis are building all manner of tunnels, all manner of our military outposts, all manners of separation walls with men with towers in the walls with machine guns, building mass weapons and selling it to other nations. Their prime minister is flying over to America, begging for money, begging for weaponry, begging for support. The Israeli government is trying to make alliances and allegiances with these Arab nations. We're not going to be making allegiances with anyone when we get to that land. We don't have to. Most High is dwelling in the midst of us. We don't need to make an alliance or an allegiance with anyone. So once again, the Most High's words testifying against these people. Verse 14, sing, O daughters of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Verse 15, Yah hath taken away thy judgments. He has cast out thine enemy. The King of Israel, even Yah, is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. Let me reread that whole verse for those of you who may not understand that. Yah has taken away thy judgments. He has cast out thine enemy. Someone is in this land sitting there pretending to be us, and he's going to kick them out. The King of Israel. So we get this clear. That's the Most High. Zedekiah. David, Solomon. All of these are not kings. These are governors of Israel, captains of the people. Israel has one king, and that is the Most High. The whole earth has one king, and that's the Most High. Even Yah is in the midst of thee. Once again, the Most High will be in the midst of us when we get back to that land. So there can be no wickedness in that land when we return, because the Most High is there. And if you are in the presence of him and you're doing anything wicked, you are a dead man. So you understand that. So you know it is not these people, for the simple fact that you got homosexuals in the land having parades, dancing around, and all this other foolishness. You've got all manner of idolatrous houses sitting on the land. First order of business when we return to that land is to get rid of all of that. So there's no way evildoers are sitting on that land when that Most High gets back there. It ain't happening. Once again, the Most High's words testifying against these people. He is saying that we shall not see evil anymore. Those Israelis are seeing evil all the time. Verse 16, in that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thy hands be slack. Verse 17, Yah thy strength in the midst of thee is mighty. Once again, he will be in the midst of us. So you understand that he will be in the midst. He's going to be dwelling in the midst of his people. That's why we have to build that third temple. He will rejoice over thee with joy. Let me read. I missed that he will save. Let me read the whole verse, verse 17. Yah thy strength in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save. If he saving you, you got to be in trouble. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. So he's going to gather all of our people who were sorrowful for the solemn assembly, because all the holy days we no longer keep them, and we're no longer doing the things that are right in the sight of the Most High. Verse 19, behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee. I will save her that halteth, that's Jerusalem, that's all of Israel, and will gather her that was driven out. All of Israel was driven out. The north went first, then Judah and the south went after them. We were all kicked out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Let me read that whole thing, especially when dealing with the latter part of that verse. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee. I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. The house of Israel, we have been put to shame in the four corners of the earth. We're going to get praise. We're going to get fame. We're going to be lifted up. People are going to grab a hold of us, asking about the Most High, wanting to learn, wanting to follow the Most High. We're going to go from being the bums to being to the men that are sought after in these lands. And this is going to happen before we get back to that land. Verse 20. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith Yah. So right now we are the bums of the earth. N-words and everything else you could think about. These very people, your enemies, are going to grab a hold of you and give you all types of praises and fear you and respect you and seek the Most High's word through you, etc. Because we are going to magnify the Most High's law and make it honorable. That has been our purpose, though we have gone astray. So in these many lands where we are considered the dung right now, we're considered the foul and the filth of the earth, the Most High is going to raise us up in all of these nations. All right? He's going to make us a name and a praise among all people of the earth. That's wherever it is we dwell. The man of Israel is going to be feared. He's going to be respected. But that man is going to be sought after. But if you're a man of Israel that's not walking in the Most High's law, you've chosen the ways of your enemies and doing all the things that are contrary to the Most High's law, no one is seeking after you. In fact, you will be killed. All right. So let me read that verse for effect. Verse 20. We're in Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 20. We will read that. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I'll make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth. When I turn back your captivity, I'm going to reverse your circumstance before your eyes, saith Yah. He's going to do it before our eyes to prove to us exactly that all his words are true. He's saying he's going to do all of these things before our eyes because that's how we're able to bear witness. A witness sees. You understand that? So this old dying and going to heaven and all this other nonsense they done taught you, nah, it's a lie. All right. Now, let's move to Joel chapter 3. Joel chapter 3. Joel chapter 3, the book of Joel, we'll read chapter 3. We're establishing the words of the Most High via his prophets. We are making it plain that the Most High's words testify against these Jews. It testifies against these Israelis that they are not the people of the Most High. Joel chapter 3, verse 1 reads, For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations. I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Let's hold right there. So, the Most High is saying he is going to gather all these nations because all of these nations scattered his people. He's going to bring these nations down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and he's going to plead with them for his people. So on the behalf of his people, he's going to deal with all these nations, just like he dealt with Pharaoh on the behalf of his people, Israel. And that's why we have Passover. All right? So he's saying his people and his heritage, Israel. Didn't say the whole world. He said for his people and his heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted his land. So can someone show me some documentation where Israelis, where Jews were scattered throughout the earth? No such documentation exists. Now, these nations took his people, scattered them to the four corners of the earth, and then they took the Most High's land and they parted his land. All right. Some people think that Utah is Jerusalem and a whole bunch of other madness. Can anyone show me where someone took a hold of Utah and parted it up and divvied it up and other nations are living in there after they have partitioned the land? You can no such thing. However, you can go to the house, you can go to Israel right now, and you can see where that land has been divvied up by these Europeans. And some other Europeans called Jews have been placed in there by Europeans called Brits and Germans and whomever else, have given them a place in the middle of that land. These Europeans, all of them, Jews included, have taken the Most High's people and scattered them to the four corners of the earth. And then these Europeans took a hold of the Most High's land into their possession. They have falsely placed themselves in the position of the Most High's people and have sent out messages to the earth that they are the Most High's people. And they have parted and divvied up his land. Verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. All of this we have experienced during slavery when they did this to our children. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head. Verse 5, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things. So what they have done is when these Romans busted up in the Most High's temple, stole these scrolls, tried to mimic them, copy them, plagiarize them, put them in the back and called it the New Testament, trying to put themselves in the place of us. They stole all the holy scrolls. They stole all the gold, silver, and everything else that was dedicated things unto the Most High. They got them in their museums somewhere, hidden somewhere. We're getting it all back. We're getting it all back. And there's nothing they can do about it. So they stole the Most High's goodly and pleasant things and put it in their little temples. They got it up in the Vatican and wherever else in their little island houses. We're going to get it all back. Verse 6. The children also of Judah and the children also of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye may be removed, that ye might remove them far from their borders. So those of us of the south, we were sold to the Grecians, them the Greeks, right? Now, is there any records of Jews being sold to the Grecians? There ain't no such thing. I guarantee you, you can find where we were sold to Grecians and sold to everyone else. Verse 7, behold, I will raise them up. I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them. So the Most High is saying, in all the many places where these people have conspired, Psalms 83, to keep us cut off, to sell us and send us far away from our borders, the Most High said, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. He's going to kill them. All those people that were part of this slave trade. Yes, that goes for the Jew. Yes, that goes for the Israeli and the rest of these Europeans and any of those other African nations that took part in this. Most High said he's going to raise us up out of the many places where you sold us. So we're going to be raised up, lifted up in these many nations where we are, like I just said earlier in this video. And he's going to recompense their way, all that these Europeans have done to us and these other nations that has conspired, these Arabs and the Asians and everyone else. He's going to take all of their ways and return it upon their own heads. So you know they killed and murdered us. So you know they're about to be killed and murdered. It's coming back to them. You see, they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay, but they have to pay. There is no way around this. Verse 8. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah. So you sold us? Well, you're going to be sold unto us. And they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off. For Yah has spoken it. So you sold our children. Our children were sold across the seas, all through the Caribbean, all through South America, all through Latin America, all in Europe, all in North America and South America. You split up our families and sold us everywhere, sold our children. Well, your children are going to be sold too. So get ready for that. Verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Make up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Understand, O man of Israel, there's going to be some fighting to be done. So our enemies conquered us by means of war. And it's going to be by means of war that they will be conquered. So you better get ready to fight. All this man hit you in the face, you turn your other cheek so he can hit you in the face. You've got no fight in you. You're going to have to go ahead and change that spirit really quickly. Christianity has done a number on our people psychologically. Okay? You can't find anywhere in this book where we got hit in the face and decided we're going to turn the other side of the face to get hit there too. That is not the way of the man of Israel in the days of old. So we are to strengthen ourselves in this law. That way that spirit of cowardice can be removed from your heart. Verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yah. Let the heaven be wakened. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So the Most High is saying, let the heathen be awakened. Okay? Let them come to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for he's going to judge all the heathen round about. The common sense word here is he's going to kill them. That's what this judgment is about. Verse 13. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. The wickedness of these nations who have sold the Most High's people, killed them off, and done all these other foul things to us. The Most High is going to judge them. The judgment for murder is death. So that's what they've got coming. Verse 14. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yah is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Yah also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, because he's going to be there. And the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Yah will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. Didn't say anything about the strength of everyone. Verse 17. So shall ye know that I am Yah, your strength, dwelling in Zion. He's going to be there, like I've said before. My holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her anymore. So all these strangers are going to be out of that land. Right now you got all kind of strangers in there doing all kind of strange behavior. Won't be allowed. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters. And a fountain shall come forth of the house of Yah, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. All right, all these Edomites sitting in the land, they have shed our blood throughout the earth. And so therefore the Most High is going to recompense them in their own bosom before their own face. But Yah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem, verse 20, let me read that. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yah dwelleth in Zion. So we see here where Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in the land. So Edom is going to kill them off. Okay. Verse 20 states clearly that Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. And the Most High is going to cleanse our blood that has not been cleansed. It's going to purify our blood. And the Most High will dwell in Zion. He will be there. Just so you understand that. So that is Joel chapter 3, making it plain. By way of Joel, the Most High's words testify clearly that these Israelis are not those people. They are not the people of the land. They are sitting in the land on the false pretense, backed by Europeans, not backed by the Most High. Now, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37, the valley of the dry bones, the waking up of the house of Israel, shaking yourself from the dust. No, you're not getting up. You're not a dead man getting up in spirit doing something crazy. No, these are people who are alive, walking around as if they are dead men, because they lack the law. They lack the light of the Most High. And once they take a hold of the Most High's law, they take a hold of that righteousness, then they become alive. They're able to see, they're able to hear, they're able to understand with their hearts. All right. Excuse me. Ezekiel chapter 37. Once again, we're reading whole scrolls on them. We're throwing the book at them, literally. Okay. Verse 37, chapter 37 of Ezekiel, chapter 37, we'll read verse 1. The hand of Yah was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of Yah, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Yah, thou knowest. Verse 4. And he said unto me, Prophesy unto these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the words of Yah. In other words, O ye dry bones, hear this law. Verse 5. Thus saith Yah, just saith Yah unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinew upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yah. So the prophecy is that these bones, the Most High said he's going to put tendons on them, he's going to put flesh on them, he's going to put skin on them, he's going to breathe his breath into them, and they're going to live. Verse 7. So I prophesied, and as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinew and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. All right, no breath in them, no law in them. Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith Yah, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. Verse 10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, our hope is lost, we are cut off for our parts. So these dry bones in this valley are actually the children of Israel, maneuvering around the many nations as though they were dead men, without light, without law. No light, no law. No light, you can't see, moving around in circles, bumping into walls. So by the Most High breathing his breath upon us, putting life in us, this law, remember, this law is our light. It's also our life. It is also our wisdom to these nations. So once we take a hold of this law, that's when we stand up and we live. That's when we get out of the dust, because to walk in wickedness is to walk in darkness. And a man that is in darkness, or that is walking in wickedness, he is maneuvering in the congregation of the dead. So he's considered a dead man. And that's what all of this is referring to. The house of Israel, we are as dead men in these many nations until the Most High's law is followed. Then we begin to shake ourselves from the dust. We get all this sin off of us. We realize what's incorrect. We know now what is correct. So now instead of us walking around like dead blind men, we stand up in our rightful place. We teach this law. We separate ourselves from evil doers as well. And we walk this straight and narrow. So now we have this light before us via the Most High's law. And that's what this is speaking to. Not some dead people getting up out the ground. Verse 12. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Yah, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. All right. Now, are there going to be spirit beings running around Israel? No. These graves are all the many different traps and snares that we are falling into in the midst of these nations. So as we get up out of these graves, as we shake ourselves from the dust, wickedness, idolatry, and all the other manners of foul in these lands, that's how he gathers us out of these nations, takes us back to the land of Israel, And that's how we build that third temple. And that's how all these people of these nations will come up to the Most High's house, pay homage to him there. And we will be there to teach them his law. It's really that simple. This has nothing to do with dead people coming up out of the ground. Verse 13. And ye shall know that I am Yah, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. Death, wickedness, the pit. Verse 14. And ye shall put my spirit, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live. So once again, the spirit of the Most High upon us is us taking the hold of this law. Once again, verse 14. And shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I, Yah, have spoken it and performed it, saith Yah. So the Most High doesn't do anything off the cuff. He has all this documentation here. That way we may read it. Once we become in tune with his law, we can read it. We then have a clear understanding of it. And then what he's going to do, he's going to prove it to us by allowing us to bear witness to it. That way we can validate and say, yeah, the Most High is true to his word, for he has allowed me to see it via text, and then he allows me to see it when it comes to pass. That way I can validate, I can bear witness that indeed these words are true. Verse 15, the word of Yah came unto me again, or came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So the Most High is stating here to Ezekiel that, and Ezekiel is a priest and a prophet. He wears both hats. So the house of Israel and the house of Judah is going to become one stick. We're going to become one nation. All of these things are going to happen when we return back onto the land. There's going to be no separation. There's going to be one governor over the whole entire Israel. There's not going to be one governor down in Judah and one governor up in Samaria. It's not happening that way. So when you see these Jews return back onto the land, and then they bring the Ethiopian Jews and they're locking them up, discriminating against them, sterilizing them, beating them up, and all these other foul things that they're doing to them. If they're all Jews, as they're saying, then this prophecy speaks against them. So all we're doing, once again, we're going into the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. We're going into the words of the Most High via his prophets, and we're going to use the words of the prophets and the words of the Most High to testify against these people that call themselves Jews and Israelis that's sitting in this land. We're going to prove via this word, via this text, via these scrolls, that what you're saying that you are these people, that there are prophecies written out in here long before anyone on the earth right now was born, that states something that's contrary to what they're saying. All right. Verse 18. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Verse 19. Say unto them, thus saith Yah, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. So the Most High is saying that he's going to make this, he's going to bring these tribes together. He's going to bring the house of Israel together, and we're going to return back as one family. All right. Verse 20. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Verse 12. And say unto them, thus saith Yah, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Once again, the Most High is going to gather the children of Israel from among the heathen. He's going to do it. Now, what the Jews, the Israelis, and these other Europeans, the Americans, and the Brits, what they have done, they have tried to copy, they have tried to mimic, they have tried to replicate these prophecies, and they're failing. They have failed because the words of the Most High testifies against them. So this is what they're trying to do when they got all these Jews and picked them up and took them back into the land, and they're waving little stars of David. David never had a star, but they're waving that and claiming that they're the Jews and the Jews have returned and all this other nonsense. These are the prophecies that they were trying to replicate to fool the inhabitants of the earth. It has not worked. Verse 12, verse 22, excuse me. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, one governor. And there shall be no more two nations. It's not going to be Israel and Judah. It's going to be just Israel. Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore. So we will be one nation once we're in that land. Verse 23. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols. There's still idols in the land today. Nor with their detestable things. Their detestable things in the land today, i.e. homosexual parades. Nor with any of their transgressions. They're doing all manner of transgressions in that land, walking contrary to the Most High's law today. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their strength. So the Most High is going to cleanse us, all right? And he's going to save us. So if these Jews are sitting in this land, if the Most High cleansed you, how come you have gay parades there? Once again, the Most High's words testifying against them. Verse 24, and David my servant shall be king over them. All right, David my servant. David the king, David the governor, correct term, he has passed on. It is a successive line. David, Solomon, Rehoboam, and it passes on from generation to generation. I don't care how many generations down the line you go, it is David. It is his seed. You understand? So it will be a son of David that's sitting on the throne. I don't care if it's 1,000 generations down the line. It is still David, for it is David's seed. All right. Once again, verse 24. And David my servant shall be governor over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. That will be that governor. They shall also walk in my judgments, meaning they'll be walking in his law. And you're not seeing, there's no governor in that land right now, and they're not walking in this law. Because the Most High said they will walk in his judgments and observe my statutes and do them. Those jokers still work on the Sabbath in the land. They still have trains running and whatnot in the land on Sabbath day. So those are not these people. They are not the people of the Most High sitting in that land right now. Verse 25. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. So how you figure you're going to be living in the sky someplace? And my servant David shall be prince forever. Forever, as long as that nation is established on the earth. And we are back in that land as a nation. A son of David will always be on that throne. It is a covenant that the Most High made with David, that a man of his seed will always be before him. So the Most High is forever. David is not. David lives here. He is still here, and he will always be here by way of his posterity, his seed. So if you ever want to know how do you live forever, you live forever through your children. Now, we've got a few more verses on that chapter. While I'm there, let me go ahead and touch on this real quick. I've got a young man that I know. He's very respectful towards me. Listen to some of the things that I have to tell him when he needs guidance and things like that. And he is of mixed heritage, and he's a J-seer, and I've shared some things about this book with him. And He has actually gone into the book, read some of it. Here, it's funny the reaction you will get out of people when they start realizing, oh, what I'm seeing here is not what I was taught. So his main thing was he asked me about the living forever aspect, and I told him, I said, no one lives forever. The Most High alone lives forever. He's the first and the last, and you cannot be last with him. You live forever through your posterity, through your children. And he said, man, I can't believe that because, I want to see my pops again. He want to see his dad. Uh, and what he's looking forward to is just reuniting with his dad in the heavens. And I told him straight up, I said, look, if you want to see your father, all you have to do is look in the mirror. You're him. You are his seed. If you were to have a son, your son is you. It's your father before you and before him and before him. It's their genetics. It's their seed. They are still here. That is how we live forever. It made sense to him. I saw when I was speaking to him that he understood it, but his mind could not accept it because he was told otherwise. But yet when I spoke to him in that fashion and explained it to him, clearly I could see that it made sense to him and he clearly understood what I said. But yet it was hard for him to accept. But I trust in time he will understand that. And that way you will value the life that you're living right now. And you will be mindful of how you treat your children. Because to mistreat your children is to mistreat your own self. They are you. They are your seed. They are your posterity. They are your heritage. So be mindful of that. You're not living forever. None of us will. We will all die. And if we live our lives correctly and we serve the Most High correctly, he will bless us by allowing us to have seed on this earth. And that's how we will continue forever before him. All right. Now let's move to verse 26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. Once again, Most High we're gonna renew this covenant with the Most High. The Most High is going to be the midst of us in Jerusalem. That temple is going to be built. All the sacrifices will be put on and the Levites put in their rightful place. We will all be walking within the Most High's law. He will set his sanctuary, his temple will be in the midst of us forever. How do you figure you're going to die, put on wings, and go in the sky? You can't find that stuff in here. So let's stop this foolishness about dying and going in the heavens with JC. No such thing. Verse 27. My tabernacle, that's that temple, also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their strength, and they shall be my people. For he will be in the midst of us in his house in Jerusalem. And that's why all these nations are going to have to come up. And the heathen shall know that I, Yah, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forever. So it's going to be established that we are the people of the Most High, because when they got to go see the Most High, we're going to be right there. You're going to be in the midst of us. You're coming to our place to pay homage to the Most High. We are the keepers of the temple. We are the teachers of this law. So it's going to be established to all these nations that we are indeed the people of the Most High. And that's why it says here in this last verse, and the heathen, that's these nations, shall know that I do sanctify Israel. We're going to be sanctified in the Most High, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Now, is the Most High sanctuary sitting in the midst of some Jews or some Israelis in the land of Israel? It's not, and it never will be. They are not the people of the Most High. All of these words, all of these scrolls that I have read for the past 1 hour and 19 minutes testify against them. All right, so we've covered Ezekiel chapter 37. All right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 36. We're going to go back one chapter. All right. Ezekiel chapter 36. Once again, we're establishing that the people that's sitting in the land calling themselves Jews are exactly that. They're Jews. They're calling themselves Israelis. Yeah, they're Israelis. Well, they're not. They are not the sons and daughters of Jacob. They are not the house of Israel. They are not the people of the Most High. They are not the seed which Yah hath blessed. They're none of those things. Once again, Ezekiel chapter 36, and we will start off at verse 1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, Ye mountains of Israel, hear the words of Yah. Hear the word of Yah. Thus saith Yah, because the enemy has said against you, Aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Excuse me. So, once again, what happened was the heathen took a hold of our land, took a hold of our scrolls, took a hold of our possession. And what they said, aha, all these places belongs to us. We got it now. We're going to kick these Israelites out. We own all this. We got these scrolls. We're going to just take their place. In other words, they squatting, sitting on some land that don't belong to them. We're going to see them run out. Verse 3, therefore prophesy and say, Thus saith Yah, because they have made you desolate. This is what because the heathen is in the land is desolate because they're in there. All right. So, thus saith Yah, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side. That's the land they're talking about. That ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. So, what verse 3 is saying, the Most High is telling Ezekiel to say this. This is what the Most High is saying. Because you heathen made this land desolate, because you heathen have swallowed up the land on every side, because you heathen want to take this land into your possession. Verse 4, therefore ye mountains of Israel, hear the words of Yah. Thus saith Yah to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate waste and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. So the heathen try to take possession of everything. So the Most High is stating clearly what Ezekiel is to say to the land, to the mountains, to the waters, to the stream, and everything that's in the land. Verse 5, therefore, thus saith Yah. Now, understand that it's thus saith Yah. It's not thus saith the European Peter. It's not thus saith the European Paul. Thus saith the European Matthew. None of these Europeans ain't got no say here. Thus saith Yah. Not thus saith Mr. Charlie. So we get that all straight. We're dealing with the Most High and His Word. All right. So once again, verse 5. Thus saith Yah, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idomia. That's who's holding our land right now. Which have appointed my land in their possession with the joy of all their heart. So, these Idumeans, these Israelis, these Jews, up in the Most High's land, taking his land into their possession, started dividing it up, splitting it up, and partitioning his land. And they did it with despiteful minds to cast it out for prey. All right, despiteful minds. They did it with hate and discontent, and they knew what they were doing were foul. All right, now the same playbook that they have used in Jerusalem as far as taking possession of someone's land, deviating it up, and then letting other Europeans come in the land, they did it in South America, North America, Africa, and any other land that they have taken possession of. The playbook is go into the land, murder the people, take possession of the land, rewrite the history, get the people out the land, and bring more European people into the land. Give them the land for free and subject everyone else to poverty, strife, and affliction. This has been the playbook of the European throughout the earth. Murder a man, take his land, and then all of a sudden say his land belonged to him. Same playbook they've done in Israel, the same playbook they have taken throughout the earth. Come to America, murder the people off, and then all of a sudden I'm the American. And that's it. So they kill people, and then they take the place of the people or pretend to. And they do it with despiteful minds. So the Most High's got words for them. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel. This is verse 6 of Ezekiel chapter 36. And say unto the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, thus saith Yah, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. So the land has borne the shame of the heathen. That's why the land was not to grow anything. Verse 7. Therefore thus saith Yah, I have lifted up mine hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. So the heathens are going to have to pay. The heathen that's trampling on the land right now, they've got to pay. Verse 8. But ye, O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. All right. So therefore, keep in mind, Ezekiel cursed the land, that the land was not going to produce its food in abundance. The water was not going to flow like it should. The dew was not going to flow like it should. And the crops were not going to produce like they should. And that was the curse upon the land. Why? Because the heathen is trampling upon it. But then the Most High told Ezekiel to turn to these mountains and let the mountains know, O mountain of Israel. This is verse 8. O mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. So, when Israel got back to the land, all the water was going to be restored. It was not going to be a water shortage. There would be no need for a desalination plant to produce water. Water would not be short. There would be no droughts in the land. There would be no famine in the land. There will be no homosexuals in the land. There will be no weapons of war in the land. No bribery in the land. No shortage of anything in the land. There would be no fear in the land. There would be no wickedness in the land when these people that are at hand, Israel, returns back onto this land. The Most High commanded the land to yield its fruit, the water, and the bounty to his people when they come back into that place. Once again, the Most High's words, testifying against these people by way of his prophets. Verse 9, for behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and ye shall be tilled and sown. So the Most High is saying to the land that he is for the land, and he will turn back to the land, and that the land will be tilled and sown, but it won't be tilled and sown by Israelis. It's going to be tilled and sown by the house of Israel. And when we return back onto the land and we touch that soil, Most High going to bless that thing because we're there. And the waters are going to flow from those streams. And those plants are going to yield their fruit in abundance. All this is happening when we get back there. And we're not going to need no desalination plants to take water from the sea and convert it into water that we could drink. And to take sewage water and convert that into water we could drink. We're not going to need that. Most High is going to bless the land when we are to come, when we return back onto that land. So once again, the Most High's words, these scrolls are testifying against these Israelis, against these Jews. Verse 10, and I will multiply men upon you, all the houses of Israel, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the cities shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be builded. All right. the waste shall be builded. So there are places there now where the land won't grow, the land is barren and all of that. And there are places where we had major cities that can't sustain any life right now. All of these things are going to be restored. The heathen is right now in the land trying to do all kind of magic tricks, and it's just not working for him. Verse 11, and I will multiply upon you man and beast. In other words, there will be no sterilization of the children of Israel. So I've told you already that these Jews, these Israelis, have sterilized those Ethiopian Jews. There will be no sterilizations anywhere because the Most High said he will multiply man and beast. So therefore, our numbers are going to increase as a family. There will be no, what do you call it? What's Margaret Sanger? What did she do? I forgot. Causing all of our babies to be eliminated via her project by which she wanted to, or the U.S. government wanted to eliminate the numbers of the children of Israel. I forgot what you call it. It may come to me in time. But they placed all these many different clinics, abortion clinics, in the midst of our people in order to bring our numbers down and kill our babies and encourage us to kill our babies. I want to say is Planned Parenthood, I believe is what it is, something of the sort. We're encouraging the children of Israel to kill our babies. So we see here the Most High saying he will multiply man and beast. So our beast, i.e. our flocks, will increase, and our numbers in the many different tribes will also increase. So if that's the prophecy, then how come these Israelis were sterilizing Jews? They're locking them up, first of all, denying them the basic rights that they give the white Jews, right? And then they sterilize the Ethiopian Jews. Now, that's not in here. The Most High said he was going to multiply his people when they got back. He never said that one tribe was going to sterilize another. He never said that. Once again, the Most High's words testifying against these Israelis, these Jews. So once again, verse 10, and I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the city shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be builded. Verse 11, and I will multiply upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bring fruit, and I will settle you after your old estates. The man of Judah going back to the land that was given to Judah. The man of Ephraim is going back to the land that was given to Ephraim. The man of Issachar is going to go back to the land of Issachar. We're going to establish the old waymarks. The old boundaries are going to be established. And we will know which tribes we're from. If you go ask Benjamin Netanyahu what tribe he's from, that joker don't know, because he's not the house of Israel. And the Most High was going to let us know when we got back to that land exactly what tribe we're from. If you go right now in Israel and stick a microphone in the face of one of them Jews, one of those Israelis, and say, hey man, what tribe are you from? He doesn't know. He doesn't know, because he is not of the house of Israel. None of them in that land are. All right. So the Most High said, I will sell you after your old estates, and will do better unto you than at your beginnings. And ye shall know that I am Yah. So whatever it is that we had, he's going to do better unto us than what he did in the beginning. That's why he said that we will receive double. We receive double punishment for walking outside of the line of his laws, outside of the confines of his laws. When we start walking in the confines of his laws, he will repay us double, i.e. he will bless us double. Hope that makes sense to you. Verse 12, yea, I will cause men to walk upon you. That's the land. Even my people Israel. Right now you got people walking on the land, ain't Israelites. Don't follow after no laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. The people walking on the land are Jews. They're Israelis. Ain't no such thing as an Israeli anywhere in this book. Israelites, sons of Jacob. Okay, so the Most High said he's going to cause his people to walk on that land. Right now, that's not who's walking on it. Let me reread that verse 12. Yeah, I will cause men to walk upon you, even my people Israel, and they shall possess thee. The Most High is talking about the land. Most High is saying, I'm going to cause my people to walk upon you, O land. I'm going to cause my people to possess you, O land, like they did in the days of old. And thou shalt be their inheritance, and thou shalt no more henceforth bereave them of men. So the land is going to be inherited by us. The Most High is going to cause us to walk upon the land, and the Most High is not going to cause the land to kill us off, i.e. famine. So the land is going to yield its increase when we plant our crops. We're going to have the waters. We're going to have the rain, the former and the latter rain. Most High is going to bless our hands in everything that we put our hand forth to do. He's not going to allow the land to be barren and starve us off. He's not going to allow the cankerworm to eat up our fruits before it comes forth. These are some of the things that he did to us in the days of old. We plant something and the wind will beat it up. We plant something and the worm will eat it up. We plant something, the caterpillar will eat it up. And the floods would come and the rains would come. And the famines took place and bereaved us of men, killed us via starvation. Most High said he's not going to let that happen anymore. Verse 13, thus saith Yah, because they say unto you, thou land devourest up men and has bereaved thy nations. So everyone is saying, man, the land ain't no good. Can't plant nothing here. This land has caused all type of famine. It's killed a whole lot of people. The land is barren, it's desolate, it's no good. Verse 14, therefore, thou shalt devour men no more, neither bereave thy nations any more, saith Yah. So the nations are those 12 houses of Israel. So the land is no longer going to starve us to death. That's what it's saying. The land is going to yield to us its increase. Verse 15, neither will I cause men to hear in thee the shame of the heathen anymore. Neither shall they bear the reproach of the people anymore. Neither shall thou cause thy nations to fall anymore, saith Yah. So the land had to bear the shame of the foul jokers that were walking and that are still walking on it. Ain't nothing growing to speak of. Water hard to find. Land is arid, dry, will not yield its increase to those who are on the land, because those people on the land are not the people of the Most High. They're not supposed to be there. So the land ain't going to do nothing for them. The land will not respond to them. The Most High won't allow it. But when the real people get back there, then the land is going to be like, oh, there they come. I can feel his foot walking on me. It's time for me to bring forth this water and produce this fruit in abundance. So the trees, the plants, the land, everything is going to be joyous, going to be joyful. The wood, the forest is going to be excited when we come back to the land, because there are people in the land right now chopping down the trees, tearing up the forest, doing all manner of foul things to the land. So when we get back, the trees are going to rejoice. They're going to sing, man, I ain't got to worry about this dude over here with a chainsaw chopping me down and all this other craziness. So when we get back to the land is going to be rejoicing. Why? Because the true people that this land belongs to are home. They are here. So now, instead of me being able to, I can't even produce like I'm supposed to. This is the land speaking now. The land is like, man, I'm dried up and all this other things happening to me. Now, when the people come back, they're supposed to be here. Now the land can actually flourish and do what it was designed to do for the people that it was designed to do it for. All right. Verse 16. Moreover, the word of Yah came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. So we defiled the land when we were in the land, doing all manner of foul and unclean things that were contrary to the Most High's law. Verse 18, wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they have polluted it. So when we were in the land, we were murdering, we were killing folks, doing all manner of foulness in the land. And when you shed blood on the Most High's land, you pollute the land. And when you pollute the land, you can't stay on it. And that's how we got kicked out. And we also had idols in the land. We were actually doing all manner of idolatry, worshiping all kind of madness in the land. So the land was programmed to spew us out by simply withholding its water, withholding its increase. So the land starved us off of it, if that makes any sense to you. Okay, verse 19. And I scattered them among the heathen. So because we did all that madness, that's why we got kicked out of that land. Because what we did some things to the land. We murdered. So once you murdered, your blood hit that land. Automatically, you done for once you did that. So now the land is no longer going to yield its increase to you. The water is not going to flow to keep the crops healthy that they may produce food for you. So the land starts withholding everything from you because you have cursed yourself when you do something such as a murder and that blood hit that ground. All right. And so the Most High scattered us among the heathen, and they have dispersed, and they were dispersed throughout the countries. So this is us being kicked out. Verse 19. You can't find no place where any Jew or any Israeli was scattered or dispersed among all the nations of the earth, and he didn't do it by immigration. He didn't immigrate there. He was forced, taken there in chains, snatched, taken to a different country, learned a different language, has a different culture, and wears the people's names of that nation. You can't find an Israeli like that. He don't exist. These are the lies that we were told. But we can go into these scrolls right here and establish by words of the Most High and his prophets that these people are not the people of the Most High and that they're sitting on that land in false pretense. All right. Once again, verse 19. And I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed throughout the countries. According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them. So, when you see Israelites getting busted upside their heads in these many nations, you're going to feel sorry for them. That's empathy. But then you've got to understand the reason why the Most High is doing this. He is putting their ways upon their own head. That's all that's happening. He's judging us according to our own doings. That's why what you do is important, because it's going to come back to you, and you're going to bear witness to it. You're going to be repaid your own way. It's going to be repaid before your face. You're going to have to bear witness to it. All right? And all of this is going to happen while you're alive, because a dead man can't see anything. Verse 20. And when they entered unto the heathen, whither they went, they profaned my holy name. When they said to them, these are the people of Yah, and are gone forth out of his land. So when we got into these lands, these people knew good and well that we were the people of the Most High. They knew it. All right. But then we got in the midst of these heathen, and we started profaning the Most High's holy name. Instead of we start talking about the Most High, we talking about JC, and JC is the son of the Most High, and a whole bunch of other garbage that cannot be established in this book. And so we profaned the Most High's holy name with some garbage. We blaspheme the Most High. When we get busted upside our head, we're gonna say it's it's Satan and it's the devil that did it. Never ever saying that the Most High is punishing me because I'm walking contrary to his law. No, they blaspheme the Most High by saying it's Satan that did it. And when the Most High pour out a blessing upon us, we blaspheme the Most High that way too. Oh, JC blessed us. JC is the reason why I have this and that. So we been blaspheming the Most High up and down in all these nations with some foolishness. Verse 21. But I had pity for mine holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen whither they went. So we got in these nations and profaned the name of the Most High in the midst of these foul heathen. Verse 22. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, not say unto the whole wide world, say unto this bloodline, say unto the sons and daughters of Jacob, thus saith Yah, I do not this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for mine holy name's sake, which ye have profaned among the heathen whither ye went. So we went into all of these nations, and we literally profaned the Most High's holy name with some madness. Verse 23, and I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am Yah, saith Yah, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. So, we got in these nations talking about JC this and that. JC blessed me, JC died for me, and JC is the reason why I got baptized and all this other garbage, profaning the Most High's holy name. And the Most High said he's going to sanctify himself in us. We're going to be sanctified in him. And the heathen that taught us all this JC garbage, they are going to know, Most High said, when I shall be sanctified in you. He is going to be sanctified in us. Why? Because we're going to turn back from all this JC nonsense. We're going to turn back from blaspheming the Most High with some nonsense. We're going to turn back to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And the Most High said that he will be sanctified in us before the eyes of the heathen. So all these nations that we're in, when we start turning to the Most High, his law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, all these heathen are going to grab a hold of the man of Israel, saying, I am with you, for I know the Most High is with you. I recognize that you are the people of the Most High. Teach me the ways of the Most High. Teach me his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, that I may do that which is right in his sight, that I may be saved. That's what you're going to get out of these heathen. And that's when that's when the Most High will be sanctified in us in the sight of all of these nations where we were scattered. So we will go from being bums to being elevated in the midst of these nations. Now, who doesn't want that? Verse 24, for I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. So the Most High said he was going to take us from these nations. He was going to gather us out of these nations and put us back into that land. This is the prophecy that these Europeans tried to fulfill by scooping up these daggone Israelis and putting them back in that land. And since they've been in that land, they have had absolutely no peace, which is contrary to all prophecy. Excuse me. Once again, list them mine enemies, because that's exactly what they are. They're enemies unto the children of Israel, and they're enemies unto the Most High. Verse 25. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness and from all your idols when I cleanse you. Now, this is where these jokers try to come up with some nonsense called baptism. No, no, no. That's not what the Most High is talking about right here. Okay? So the Most High said he's going to sprinkle clean water upon the children of Israel. And ye shall be clean from all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. So we're not going to be calling on JC or any other idol when we are cleansed by the Most High. All the filthiness will be removed from us. No idolatry, no homosexuality, no more lying, no more stealing, no more cheating, no more murders, none of that. Verse 26. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh, not a cold, stony heart. You will have a new spirit, one that keeps the light of the Most High before you. Verse 27, and I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. In other words, when he takes us back into this land, the only person that's going there, the only people that will be allowed to get there will be those in whose heart is his law. So when they tell you there is no law, law is your schoolmaster, and JC died and there's no law, and it's all the garbage, we can come into the books of the prophets and clearly show where the Most High, his word, and the words that he instructed to his prophets clearly knocks all of that madness out of the box. Now, verse 28. And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your strength. Verse 29. I will also save you from all your uncleanness, and I will call for the corn, and will increase it, and lay no famine upon you. We just discussed that. When we return back onto these lands, and we are gathered out of the midst of these heathen, and placed back into the land that was promised unto our forefathers, we know that the land is going to yield its increase to us. And there will be no famine upon us. And there will be no need for no desalination plants to take seawater and make it into drinkable water. Okay? There will be no need for them to take sewage water and make it into potable water that we can drink. We don't need to do any of these things. Verse 30. I will multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, and ye shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen. We've already covered all of that. Then shall you remember your own evil way and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations. So, when we get back to the land, the Most High is going to have a talking to with the house of Israel. So we clean up our acts in these lands. The Most High lifted us up in the midst of the heathen, and then we are returned back onto the land. Now, when we get back there, the Most High is going to have a talking to. He's going to talk to us just like he did in the days of old. And he's going to bring us to remembrance in detail, because he's going to be there in the midst of us. And he's saying that we're going to remember our evil ways. He's going to bring it all for us. He's going to bring it all home to us. Right now, we're getting an understanding of it in these nations for those of us who have turned back. But he's going to bring it all home to us for us to understand exactly how foul we have been, because he's going to talk to us. And when he does this, we're going to remember our own evil ways. And we're going to remember our evil doings that were not good. And we shall loathe ourselves in our own sight. We're going to hate ourselves. We're going to be disgusted once we see it laid out before us and we realize how foul we have been, and get a clear understanding of why what was done in these nations were actually done. And we're going to be disgusted for this thing. But the only people that's going to be allowed to see and understand this are going to be those that are of a contrite spirit. But he's going to talk to us, and we're going to understand clearly where we have violated his law and have done violence to it. Verse 32. Not for your sake do I this, saith Yah. Be it known unto you. Be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. So the Most High is doing all of this for his name's sake. Verse 33. Thus saith Yah, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. So the Most High is saying, when I clean you up, you're going to dwell in all of these cities that's been abandoned. You're going to dwell in the places where these cities used to be that's been desolate. All these waste places that nothing can build and it doesn't sustain anything, these places are going to be builded again. Verse 34, and the desolate land shall be tilled, all the land that Ezekiel cursed, and that he caused it to be desert, and land that can grow absolutely nothing. Why? Because the right people are not on that land. And that land, the Most High instructed this land not to yield nothing till my people return back onto this land. And when that remnant return, then the land will do all that it's supposed to do. Until that happens, those lands are going to be desolate in those parts of Israel that the Most High told Ezekiel to curse the land until his people return back onto it. It's really that simple. That's why those Israelis can't grow certain things in certain places. It just will not grow. Until the house of Israel comes back, that land ain't doing nothing for you. All right. Verse 33. Thus saith Yah, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquity, sin, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste places shall be rebuilt. So we're going to build these places. It's going to be builded because it's not builded now. Verse 34. And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. So all there's lands in Israel right now that's just desolate. They see it. They know the land is cursed. They're saying that they're Jews. They're saying that they're Israelis. They're saying that the people of the Most High, and they can't get that land to do nothing. It can't do anything, and it won't do anything because they are not the children of Israel. Verse 35. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. You ain't heard an Israeli say that ever. You have not heard a Jew say that ever. They can't say that because as long as they're on that land, it's going to remain desolate. The people that's going to say this is going to be our people, the children of Israel. And the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. That is going to happen when we get there. Then the heathen that are left round about you shall know that I, Yah, builded the ruined places and plant that was desolate. So let's cover that. The heathen in the land right now, these Jews, these Israelis, they're places that are desolate there, that you can't plant nothing. Land will not yield its increase. The water will not flow in these places. The Most High is saying that the heathen that's going to be left in the land, and those heathen will be those that are of a contrite spirit that have turned to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. They will know that it's him that is doing this when all these lands that they try to make fertile becomes fertile. All these desolate places become fertile and they become builded. The heathen will know that it's him that did it because they've been trying it for centuries and it didn't work. Let's do that verse 36 again. Then the heathen that are left round about you shall know that I, Yah, builded the ruined places and plant that was desolate. I, Yah, have spoken it and I will do it. So the heathen are going to recognize and understand clearly that it's the Most High that has rebuilded the desolate cities, and it's the Most High that's made the barren land fertile. And he's going to do that when he brings his people back. And that's when the heathen is going to understand, well, that is why we couldn't get this place to grow anything. And that is why no rain fell here, because the real people are now back home, and that's why all this is happening. And the whole earth will know and recognize and acknowledge this. Verse 37 of Ezekiel chapter 36. Thus saith Yah, I will yet for this be inquired of by the house of Israel. We're going to come back to that one more time. To do it for them, I will increase them with men like a flock. So, when we get back to that land, the Most High is blessing our families. We're going to be having 15, 20, 30 sons. I don't have any sons of my own. I'd like to have about 10 sons. You understand? But I don't want any sons that's going to grieve me a spirit. I want sons that's going to walk after the ways of the Most High and do that which is right in his sight. Because you can have a son and he disgusts you because he's not doing anything right. So if I do have sons, I would want those that are walking in the Most High's law, keeping his law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. That's going to be a joy unto me and a joy unto the Most High. So let's cover this one more time. Verse 37 of Ezekiel chapter 36. Remember, I did that lesson on here. It says, brother, I don't understand. The people that don't understand is because they have a stumbling block in their heart. They're walking after an idol, JC, and some other madness. And if you have an idol, which is a stumbling block, if you have that in your heart, the Most High will not allow you to understand. In other words, you cannot inquire of him. You cannot ask him anything and get no straight answer. He's not going to give it to you. He cut you off. So what the Most High is saying here now is that he's going to be inquired of by Israel. In other words, when we ask, he's going to be right there ready to answer and to speak with us. We will not be cut off. We will be able to be inquired of by him. When those of us who have idols in our heart, he said, Son of man, let them know that I will not be inquired of by any of them if they come before me with that stumbling block before their face. Those of you who are in this book understand clearly what I just said. So let's read it again. Verse 37 of Ezekiel chapter 36. Thus saith Yah, I will yet for this be inquired of by the house of Israel. So he's going to open his channels to us. We're going to have access to him to do it for them. I will increase them with men like flock. So there will be no one Israelite man locking up some other Israelites and a group of Israelites, one tribe, sterilizing. Because when you sterilize some people, that's so they don't have children. The Most High say he's going to multiply us with men like a flock. So can you Israelis, can you Jews explain to me how come y'all got back there and y'all sterilized those Ethiopians? If y'all Jews, right? So the Most High said he's going to multiply us with men like flocks. So our numbers are going to increase. The tribes are going to be bigger. Can you explain to me how come the whole Israeli government and all these Israelis sterilized the Ethiopian Jews? Can you explain that? All these things testify against you. All the words of the Most High and his prophets testify against you. List them mine enemies. And that's where you stand. Now, the last verse of Ezekiel chapter 36. As the holy flock, as the flock of Jerusalem in her solemn feast, so shall the waste cities be filled with flocks of men, and they shall know that I am Yah. So, our men are going to be in abundance, and our men are going to be holy men as we are commanded to be. We will keep the solemn feast and the solemn assemblies. We will build all the waste cities. It's going to be filled with men. All the barren land is going to be full of fruits and vegetables and everything else, because it will no longer be barren, because the people that land truly belongs to are back. And not only are they back, we'll be back and doing the things that we're supposed to do in order to receive those blessings. Now, so we're going to stop there at Ezekiel chapter 36, and we will continue on part 6, or with part 6. Part 6, we're going to pick up at Jeremiah chapter 33, and we will read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will do 5 more complete scrolls to drive this point home, so that the Israeli understands that he's not the house of Israel, because some of them don't know it. That the heathen understands that those Israelis and those Jews sitting in the land, they're not the children of Israel. And so the children of the diaspora, the black people scattered throughout the earth, that's swearing another man's name and speaking another man's language and doing another man's customs and are worshiping some God given to them that no one's ever heard of in the days of old. So that you understand that those people in the land are not the sons and daughters of the Most High, and that you understand that you are. And that's a lot of information. So we will continue with part 6. This is part 5. We'll continue with part 6. List them mine enemies, the enemies without. These people are enemies unto you. They are enemies unto us, and they are the enemies that have conspired against our people to keep us cut off, that we will not find the Most High, that we would not understand who we are, and we would not understand who they are. But the Most High would not allow it. The Most High has poured out his Spirit upon us. He's brought us to remembrance so we know clearly who we are. We know clearly where we are. We understand clearly why we are in these lands. And we understand clearly where our home is and where our land is. So now we are to look at our land, look at the prophecies that the Most High has brought forth through his priests and his prophets. And then we take the people who are saying that they are the house of Israel and that they are the people of God, and we go into these scrolls and we see if what they're saying lines up with these scrolls. And the Most High is dusting them off, knocking them out the box with these words. And they can't challenge this no way, no how. We coming straight out the scrolls. This is no anti-Semitism or none of that. When they start talking this anti-Semitism nonsense, they bring that forth when you slap them in the face with some truth. You bring any truth to these people, they start screaming anti-Semitism. So when you hear that anti-Semitism, the response is, oh, is that your new word for truth? Remember, these people are wordsmith. They like to take words and change up nomenclature to suit their narrative. So nothing that I have said in any of these videos is anti-Semitic. What I've brought forth to you is the Most High's truth, the Most High's righteousness by way of his prophets. You take that how you want. But this is truth. And what you can't do, you can't stand the truth. And I'm not shocked. So if you hear this and you are upset, prophecy fulfilled. For when you hear these words being instructed to you, being given to you by the men of the Most High that's been raised up in these nations, this word will be a vexation unto you. So when you get mad, doesn't make me sad. All it does is confirms the words of the Most High and his prophets, because these words will be a vexation unto you. You're mad that we have figured out who we are, and twice as mad that we figured out who you are. Blessed be the name of Yah the King, the creator of heaven and earth and all there is within the heavens and the earth, the fountain of living waters and the only Savior of the house of Israel and the inhabitants of the earth, who will take a hold of the Most High's covenant, his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and do them. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel. That concludes part 5 of List Them Mine Enemies, the enemies without. We're going to deal with these enemies, and we're going to put it in their faces. And we ain't coming with no anti-Semitism. We're going to hit you with this: the laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. Thus saith Yah. Not thus saith Paul or Peter or none of these other Europeans. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel.